What's up, people? We are here with the one and only Adam Tuminaro, aka the Orlando drummer. You all know him, we all love him. Man,
Pleasure to be here.
it's a pleasure to meet you in person, finally, after
Yes.
10 years that I've been watching your videos.
10 years. Thank you guys for having me. It's been awesome to be here and happy to sit down with you guys. Yeah.
I want you to play me the melody of the night.
Melody of the night. Okay. These are so fun, too.
What's your vibe of the day?
Okay, let's find something. That's dark. That's darker than I thought. That's a dark tone for an interview, but yeah.
That's a very good start.
Yeah.
You arrived yesterday?
Day before yesterday, I think. It's all a blur. It's hard to remember. So yesterday was the first day of the show. Arrived the day before that, and we did the booth setup. Had to build 6 electronic drum sets. So we were here, all day Friday before the show. That day was hard, and then it got easy. Yesterday was easy. Today's pretty easy. So yeah, I think it's third day here. But yeah, it's going great. Awesome show.
Cool. Yesterday night was very long. We was in a bar.
Yeah.
Short drinks, long nights.
Yeah. Everybody was up very, very late last night, but it was fun. So many friends from all over the world. It was very, very cool to see that many drummers in one place. Wild. Yeah.
I have to apologize. I have not slept so much because, it was a wild night.
Same, yeah.
So I have some questions. I cannot remember everything.
Oh, it's fine.
So I have to sometimes check a little bit.
You're good. Go ahead.
How much of a role do you think natural talent plays versus consistent practice?
Ooh, I think a lot. And it's a hard conversation to have sometimes because, you're basically saying that life isn't fair, right? There are certainly some people who just don't have to work quite as hard.
Right.
With that said, you can work hard enough where you can make that not necessarily matter quite as much, right? And I think you have all sorts of professional drummers across that spectrum. You have people that are very naturally talented and did not have to work that hard to get to a professional level. And you have the opposite. You have people that had no natural talent and they worked extremely hard to get to a professional level. And I think the best drummers in the world are people that have both, right? So my example of this always is Chris Coleman. I think Chris Coleman is extremely naturally gifted, more so than almost anybody else. And because I know Chris, he's one of the hardest working musicians you'll ever find. And when you have that combination of both, you get Chris Coleman, right? You get a level of playing that is just unbelievable. But there's a whole spectrum. There's a whole spectrum of people. So it's not a hard and fast rule where you have to do it one particular way. But I think when you talk about the elite musicians in the world, they have quite a bit of both, for sure. That's the magic combo, And I wish there was a more fun answer than that. But some people are genuinely lucky. Everybody has natural gifts and talents, But Chris Coleman, he's my favorite recipe of that blend, right? He has all the right ingredients,
Yeah, Chris is absolute.
Yeah,
absolutely
one of the best alive, yeah.
Talking about drummers, what, in your opinion, makes a good drummer at the end of the day?
I'm a really big fan of what I call specialists. So people that are very, very good at one thing. That's what I like to see in drummers. It's, when you're first starting out, you do need to practice a lot of different things equally. You can't only practice grooves and have no understanding of fills or vice versa. When you're focusing on your timing, that's good. You should also focus on your improvisation. But after a while, I like when drummers choose a thing to be very, very good at, and then they get exceptional at that thing. That's what I like to see. It doesn't necessarily make them a better drummer than another drummer, but for me personally, I find that the most interesting. Someone who has a very particular style that other people can't really mimic or replicate. Mark Guiliana is a drummer like that.
That's a very good example.
Right, like he's good at everything. He has great groove, great timing, but man, the style that he has developed is so special and unique. And so to me, that puts him on a different level because you can't really compete with him. There's no point in trying to sound like Mark Guiliana. You're not going to sound like Mark Guiliana.
Right.
So that's what I like, and that's what I value is a specialist.
Yeah, Mark Guiliana is the absolute number one.
Yeah, world-class drummer, yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have you had the chance to see him live?
I've never seen Mark live. No. I've met him a couple times at events like this, but I've actually never seen him play drums in person. Only videos. Yeah, that would be a treat. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
he's on a solo tour right now,
Really?
and in I think 2 months, I have the chance to see him in Rotterdam,
Wow.
Netherlands.
That'd be amazing. Incredible.
Probably mind blowing.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
For sure. For sure.
What is one drumming myth or common belief that you'd love to debunk?
Ooh, that's a good question. Common drumming myth. Huh. I think it's more of like a general belief that a lot of drummers have that there's a right way to go about learning something, right? Or that there's a particular order that you have to learn things in. Having taught a lot of people, like as an educator, there are different ways that people progress and get better, right? So we think of it sometimes the way that you may have learned how to play drums. You learn things in a certain order. And so for you, it was rudiments first, and then maybe some subdivisions came after that. And then we added some dynamics and some ghost notes. And then we went on to a little bit harder grooves. And then time signatures came after that. And then advanced linear fills. And then, right. And so you begin stacking all of these things. And so you have an experience of what it was like to learn all of those things one at a time. But if someone else learned them in a completely different order, that is perfectly okay, right? And I remember as an educator, when I was an early teacher, I really wanted to create a formula that I could give to everyone. And I learned very quickly that did not work at all. There were some students that responded very well if they learned things in this order. But a different student had to learn things in a different order. Some things were more exciting to them. Things clicked at different times. Like the light bulbs went off randomly for people. And instead of fighting that, as a teacher, when I let that happen and I let them almost guide themselves a little bit, you have to help them in certain areas. I watched people just become great drummers in their own unique ways. And that was totally fine. I think a lot of drummers have their own memory of how they learned things, and then they think that that's how it's supposed to work for everyone. We're all a little bit too unique for that to be true, right? So, I think that's probably the myth. People just assuming that there is one way to become an awesome drummer, and there's not. There's 100,000 ways to become an awesome drummer. It's just something I learned as an educator, for sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's a very great answer.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Talk about personal journey and challenges. Many people following your podcast, All In with Adam, know that you've been experienced some very big ups and very big downs. What helped you stay on track despite all the challenges?
Sure. Consistency is probably one of the big ones. Making sure, as you get older, you learn things about yourself, and people change a little bit less as they get older. And it's for good reason. It's because you started to figure out who you are and what works for you. And so when you learn something about yourself, here's a great example. If I have a better day when I exercise, and specifically around 2 or 3 p.m., I like to lift weights, right? And if I do that, my day is so much better, right?
Yeah.
I've learned that over the last 25 years or so. And now that I know that, if I remember to do that and consistently make that a part of my life, it makes everything better. It makes my drumming better, it makes my teaching better, it makes my friendships better, right? So I think as you learn more about yourself and you start to understand what it is that makes you and how to live your best life, or even just have a good day, whatever that is. The food that makes you feel good, the exercise routine that makes you feel good, the friends that uplift you, not the ones that make you feel bad about yourself. Whatever it is that makes you feel like you're on the right path, committing to those things, repeating them, locking them in, becoming consistent, that sort of stuff has helped me through some of the harder times in life, for sure. So knowing myself and then trying to consistently make the right decisions to give me good days, good weeks, good months, which turn into good years, which turn into good decades, that's how it works. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Was there ever a moment when you seriously considered doing something else? And if so, what stopped you from giving up?
That's a good question. Well, I don't think I ever had a moment where I considered not doing drums. I don't think that ever really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Part of that was just being young and dumb, right? I was just too stubborn to consider any other real option.
Yeah.
So that was like how it was when I was 19, 20, 21, when I was first making YouTube videos, right? It's just, you know, I didn't really consider anything else. So it was easy. You just kind of are very stubborn and just blast through everything. The closest, though, that I can relate to your question was when I joined up with Alesis on the marketing team that I'm on now. That was probably the biggest decision I had to make about a career shift or a career change, right? Because it's a full-time job with Alesis. It doesn't mean that I am not a YouTuber anymore, that I don't make videos, or that I don't play drums anymore. Like, you know, I didn't have to give up that whole part of my career, but a little bit kind of had to give it up, right? Like it was a big change. So that was the one I had to think about the most. But yeah, it a lot of that stuff lined up and made sense because I have kids, right? And so that changes things quite a bit. But also, I think what made me comfortable with that decision, making that big career change, is that felt like I kind of already proved whatever I had to prove to the world. You know, that I'm good at drums, that I can make good drum lessons, that I can help people become better musicians. You know, I could keep doing that forever, but I sort of feel like, you know, I don't know. I don't need to continually keep proving that I know how to do that or that I'm a good teacher or a good drummer. It's okay. I feel like I established that. I know I'm a good drummer. I'm a good teacher. And so if YouTube doesn't grow and get bigger and massive, you know, if I don't double the views or double the subscriber base or whatever, that's fine. It's okay, right? So I did have to sort of think through and wrestle with that. But yeah, part of growing up too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long are you working for Alesis?
A little over a year. So I got hired as a YouTuber to make content for them when the Strata Prime came out, the big flagship kit that they have. And it went really well. And then so we just kind of kept talking after that about doing other projects. They talked about doing consultations for a little bit. So it's just bringing me on to just sort of tell them which YouTubers to work with and sort of which drummers might want to buy this sort of drum set, basic marketing stuff. But as we got more and more in depth, we realized it made more sense for me to join full time. So I'm a marketing specialist for Alesis Drums now. That's the actual title. But I basically started when the Strata Prime came out. So that's sort of how I think about it. Is like I joined when that kit came out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Adam, mental health and self-motivation are crucial for musicians. How do you deal with self-doubt or pressure? Do you got any?
Yeah, it's weird. I think I was very confident when I was young. I didn't have a lot of self-doubt, not because I was very good, but because I wasn't very self-aware. Right? I just didn't actually like wonder if I was good or not. There were the first drum lessons I ever posted on YouTube were straight up wrong information. I would say a pattern: right, left, kick, left, right, left, and then I would play something different. I mean, it was that bad. It was genuinely an incorrect drum lesson, and I would just post, good to go. Like I was totally confident. So I had the opposite problem. I was overconfident and had to learn to like, whoa, calm down. Like we can't just make mistakes like that. That's not okay. So that was the problem that I had. Yeah, but I have plenty of students that have issues with confidence or self-doubt. You know, I fall into the camp where I'm a little bit like harder-headed about it. It is a lot harder to be self-conscious and doubt yourself if you have the evidence that you are good at what you do, right? So if you assess your own drumming, your own playing, your skill set, how good you are, the things you've accomplished and done, and you don't feel like it is impressive, let's work harder to make it impressive, right? If you have proof or evidence right in front of you of the things that you've done, it becomes much harder to be self-conscious and to doubt yourself, you know? So I say, you know, don't get trapped in just thinking that way all the time. You can work yourself out of that type of thinking, you know? And I say that as someone who, like, you know, if I ever wondered, man, I wonder if I'm not really, am I good at making videos or good at doing YouTube stuff? I can look at the views that I have and go, I think I'm pretty sure I'm doing okay because I made that happen, right? So it's hard to be self-conscious when you have the evidence. So that's what I would tell anybody that's really struggling with that. Like, it's okay to have some self-doubt in the beginning of a career, for sure. I think that's pretty normal. I was an idiot that I wasn't more self-conscious when I was that young. But I think you can create proof of your own value and your own worth but it takes time. You know, you got to put your nose down and actually work for that sort of stuff. So that's a little bit tougher of an answer than I think some people might offer to that question. But yeah, that's how my brain works. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very deep thought.
Yeah.
What is one thing in your life or career that you're truly grateful about, but only developed over the years?
I think the thing I'm most grateful for, I didn't even have a lot of control over this, but how old I was when YouTube blew up, because I was young, 18, 19 years old when I first heard about YouTube. Very, very passionate about drumming. I was very passionate about videography and photography and making videos. And it all lined up where it got me into this very, very early group of YouTubers where, I'm pretty sure I was in the first 5 or 10 people in the world to post drumming videos on YouTube. I mean, it was that long ago, right? Probably in the first 10 or so, especially drum lessons. When I look back, like, I didn't have a lot of control over that. It was very much luck that it worked out that way. Had I have been born 5 years later, who knows if I would have had the success that I have, right? Like, part of it is timing, getting in at the right point. And the internet still works that way. Timing is everything. You have to nail the trend or whatever the thing is that people want to see now. You have to do it now. If you wait a year to execute that idea, the window's gone, right? Yeah. And so I didn't know that at the time, but I was setting myself up for a career with great timing, and I just didn't even know it. So that's one of the things I'm most grateful for when I look back. Just, it worked out fantastically well for me,
If you could have one dream music session with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Man, that's a really interesting one. I would probably go with, this is a weird one, Frank Ocean would be one of mine. Yeah, so like a neo-soul, R&B, hip-hop type of thing. He's one of my favorite songwriters in the world. And he also, he does all of his hip hop albums. They frequently use acoustic drums, a lot of them, or at least sampled acoustic drums. So a lot of Frank Ocean songs don't always have like 808s and full trap production style drums. A lot of it is kind of acoustic. He also had John Mayer play on one of his albums. So like there's a lot of really high level musicians that contribute to like Frank Ocean albums. Channel Orange, just one of my, probably my number one album of all time. So yeah, a jam session, like a songwriting session with Frank Ocean, that would probably be top of my list for sure.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean is killer.
Number 2, though, I would sit in with Dirty Loops. That would be a cool one. If I could, to like jam a couple songs on stage with Dirty Loops, that would be fun. Pop Fusion is one of my favorites too, and love that, man. Yeah,
I feel you. All right, let's talk about psychedelics and creativity.
Okay.
If you want to.
I don't know. So I don't want to mix those two things. Like, we could talk about it, but not in the same video that goes to drummers. Does that make sense? That's why All In with Adam was on its own channel and not on Orlando Drummer.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, people can figure it out if they want, but I don't want to connect those two worlds necessarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So not that I can't talk about it, it's just has to be a different video. That's all. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So then we skip the psychedelic question.
Sure.
Let's talk about modern drumming and social media.
Okay.
You're not just a drummer, you are also a successful content creator. How has social media changed your perspective on the music industry?
Yeah, I think it's almost mandatory for up-and-coming musicians to use social media. I don't really love that, I wish that wasn't always true, But I don't know, if you had a kid here that was 12 years old and he said, I want to be a professional drummer, I don't know how he does that without social media. It's very, very difficult. There's so many fewer options for him. There's so many less ways to be successful, So I tell everybody to be on social media, to treat it like your business card, right? It's just it's a public demonstration of your ability. It doesn't mean you have to have 1 million followers or even care if you have 1 million followers. But the idea that you're going to get the big gig with no evidence online of what it is that you do or whether or not you're good at your instrument. I don't know how that works. I don't really think that does work.
It makes
Yeah,
very
yeah,
hard.
for sure. So I think it's mandatory. That's at least what I would tell people. You know, it's an uphill battle to try and be a successful musician without social media. I don't know why you would do that to yourself. It just sounds so much harder. So yeah, I think they're just completely merged together. I don't know that that's a good thing or not, but it seems to be true. That's just reality.
So we have just to make the best out of it.
Yeah,
and go.
yeah. I don't make the rules.
Yeah. What do you think about the impact of platforms like YouTube and Instagram, TikTok on the drumming community? Do they create more opportunities or more pressure?
More pressure, I think. I mean, but both are true. There's definitely a lot more opportunities for people to see you. You know, it's incredible how famous somebody can get so quickly. Estepario is a good example.
Right.
Like the amount of people that know who he is inside of like 2 or 3 years, you know, like that's amazing. That's an opportunity that anyone could have done that. Obviously, he's supremely talented and a really hard worker, but you know, it's weird to think like there could be another version of an Estepario that we all find out about in 2 months from now, and then he becomes one of the most famous. You know, it's crazy to think that. So that's an opportunity that we all have. We all could go viral doing something, but there is a ton of pressure because, like in your last question, you asked, you know, about the link between social media and being a musician. The pressure is like you don't really have a choice but to do this, right? You have to put yourself out there and expose yourself to a ton of people on a lot of different platforms. You know, and that sucks because now it's almost mandatory that you're going to get made fun of a little bit. You're going to have some haters or negative comments or trolls, or, you know, you have to really expose yourself in a way that I don't think a lot of creative, introverted musicians are built for. You know, it's weird the first time somebody calls you a name or a slur on a video of you playing drums online. That's weird to get used to. And I hate that's almost like part of the deal now. It's like, yep, welcome to the music community where we just make fun of each other online now. Like that just happens when you make videos, you know, not just musicians, but in general. So that version of it is a pressure. So I think it's both. There's a ton of unfair pressure that social media places on people, but massive opportunities that are open for everybody, you know? So it's both of those at the same time.
Great answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was the craziest or most unexpected feedback that you've received from a video that you've made?
That's a good question. Interesting. So I think one thing that surprised me, a very hard lesson that I had to learn. My favorite lesson that I ever made on YouTube was called groove storytelling. Is what it was called. Really, really cool groove. It's like, I don't know, 4 bars or 6 bars. It's a long, long groove. And each bar of the groove is slightly different, and then it repeats. So it's kind of like it is a groove, but it's so long I call it like a story.
Yeah.
So it's got an interesting little introduction, and then there's like a verse and a chorus, and almost like a song or a story. It's a narrative inside of the groove. I thought the concept was so cool. I spent, I don't know, 60 or 90 hours making the video. It took weeks to make it, and tanked. Nobody watched it. It has maybe 20,000 views, 30,000 views, which, you know, when it's your job to make content that a lot of people see, it was not a successful video. I was hoping it would get 200,000, 300,000 views. Very, very few people saw it. And it still is one of my favorite videos that I've ever made. That was a really hard lesson because it's a form of feedback when people aren't interested in something. That's a type of feedback. It's indirect, but they're basically saying, I don't care about that. That's not interesting to me. So that was a hard lesson to learn, that sometimes the things I think are fascinating or interesting or that I'm passionate about, that doesn't mean other people have to feel the same way. And so I had to learn that as a YouTuber. That was a very hard lesson because, you know, when you depend on the success of your videos for your income, you can't make that mistake too many times in a row. If I made that mistake for 6 months straight, like, I can't pay my electric bill now. I can't pay my car payment or my mortgage or, you know. So that's a very costly mistake to make. Yeah, and it's weird. It's indirect feedback. It's not that anybody said anything to me. It's that no one said anything at all. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, whoops, that was a big waste of time. Like, hard lesson to learn. Yeah.
I can tell you at least 5 views from this video are from me.
That's awesome. I'm glad you saw it. Man. Yeah, it's a cool video.
It was very, very cool.
Hell yeah. I'm glad you liked it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
So it was not for for nothing.
Yeah,
You made some
awesome.
impact.
That's great to hear.
Okay, personal perspective and future. The last topic.
Okay.
Looking back on your career so far, is there a decision you would make differently today?
Ooh, man. I mean, I could probably think of an example where, like, in your last question too, like I would have spent less time on that video now if I knew that sort of thing.
Right.
I don't want to give you an answer that's like, no regrets, just sort of do whatever. But the way that my brain works is sort of like, I don't know. I could come up with an answer as a creative exercise to think back, but because I don't have a time machine, there's nothing I can do about that, right? So it's like, for the sake of a conversation, we could come up with something, but I really don't think that way ever. I really don't think back about like what would I have done differently, unless I really, really made a mistake, and I think there's something that I needed to learn. Yeah, I don't know. I think for better or for worse, the way that my psyche sort of works is I just tend to like bulldoze through things, and unless something went catastrophically wrong, I just kind of keep moving a little bit and try to learn things as I go. But I really don't pause back and look, and think like, like last year could I have done something that much different? And maybe that would be the thing I would do different. So like slow down a bit and just be a little bit less. What's the word? Like act a little bit less like a bulldozer sometimes, right? Where it's not just, I don't need to steamroll over everything. You can slow down and be a little bit more patient at times. I'm not naturally a very patient person. And that helped me. It helped me in a lot of ways to be like very aggressive in how I approach making videos or my career, the things that I wanted and chased down. So yeah, but that might be something that I would do a little bit differently, to just slow down, be more like tactical and patient and calm about how I approach my career, because I did steamroll through a lot of projects and things like that. So maybe that would be something I would do a little different.
Yeah. What are your long-term goals as a drummer, as an artist?
Sure. So I think the thing I've been exploring in the last year and trying to understand better especially with Alesis, is that there are drum companies in the world, or drum industry companies, corporations, that are starting to look at YouTubers and content creators and realizing that we can bring a ton of value to them. And so this is a way of thinking about my career that is still kind of new to me. I think it's new to the drum industry too. Not a lot of drum companies are looking at YouTubers and saying, hey, I wonder if they could actually help us in our marketing department, our sales department, or just content creation itself, because everybody wants to create good content. So this is something that I'm very interested in exploring personally, because it hasn't happened that many times. There is not a blueprint for how a company like Alesis works with a YouTuber, right? I'm the first one that Alesis has ever done that with. A good friend of mine, Casey Cooper, is another where Sweetwater has actually brought him on as a full-time employee. And they're also working out like the details of how this actually looks. So Casey and I have talked about this a lot, that it's really exciting and interesting to think that in the next 5 years or 10 years, this could be a thing that becomes a little bit more normalized, where companies look at YouTubers as potential employees and they actually come to us. And so it gives us more career options, right? You don't have to grind out YouTube videos forever. Being a successful YouTuber functions almost as a resume for a marketing job. I didn't know that or even think about it that way until it happened to me. And I realized, whoa, some companies like Alesis are cool enough to say like, hey, your YouTube career is good enough for us to take a chance on you. And we think that you can help us with some things. Because I didn't go to school for marketing. I don't have a degree in marketing. My degree is in audio engineering. And my resume basically says YouTube drum shit for like 15 years, right? Like that's what my resume says. Anyway, so knowing that this is like a new thing that's happening inside of the music industry, it's really exciting to be a part of it. I feel a little bit early to this party, whatever's happening here with YouTubers and companies working together in this way. So yeah, in the next few years, I want to explore that as a concept and see if I can help other people do the same thing. I know a lot of YouTubers like me who have done, 5, 10, 15 years of YouTube now, and we're getting older, we're getting married and buying houses and having kids, and to have other options is interesting, because being a YouTuber is a grind. It's a young man's game, it's very, very much a young man's game. So yeah, that's I think something I'm really excited to explore in the next few years, that whole idea.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Good luck on that.
Thank you. It's going well so far.
Very cool. So the last question, man. Is there a question you have never been asked before, but you would like to answer?
Oh, that's a hard one. Question I've never been asked before. You know what? Yeah, I think people just like to do so much positive framing, right? So they like to just keep things positive and happy. And in marketing, we talk about this a lot, where you don't want to frame something negatively, right? You don't want to say like, hey, even though this drum set is really bad at this thing, it can actually do this other thing really well. Like, we don't need to say the bad stuff first. You kind of want to get that out of there.
Yeah.
But in interviews, I think a lot of times people don't like asking negative things about the drum industry, right? Like, so this is just a very weird example. If someone asked me like, what do I hate about being a YouTube drummer? Something like that, right? Like what are the real negatives?
Yeah.
I'd have to think about like a proper answer for that. But for me, I don't really mind hearing about the negatives. It's not like every part of a job or is positive. If you ask a bunch of drummers, what do you hate about being a drummer? I bet a lot of them would say like loading gear. Like,
Right.
we always agree, loading gear sucks. That absolutely sucks to be the drummer in the band. That's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I don't have a direct answer for you now, but I wish we would kind of normalize, like, hey, man, we don't have to pretend that this is like the easiest job in the world. Like every job, there's parts of this that just aren't fun. So while like Benny and Larnell are here, like, it's funny to think like, what would they say to that question? Like, hey, Larnell Lewis, one of the best drummers alive. Like, what do you hate about the whole drum industry? Like, it might not be the most marketable content, but I would, I feel like those questions aren't asked very often. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
For good reason, maybe, whatever.
I don't know. I have to try it out.
Try it out. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's all I got for
Awesome,
you.
dude. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Very
It's a
nice.
blast.
Thank you for your time, for your
Yeah.
nice answers.
Hell yeah, man, for
the
sure.
hang.
It's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Tuminaro.
Bye.
Goodbye.